You are here on purpose with a purpose by design. Hi, and welcome back to Purpose by Design. I am so excited that you're here today. All of the Purpose by Design episodes are fantastic, but some are a little more special than others. And that's what we have in store for you today. So if you don't have a piece of paper, I've got mine right here. I've got my notebook. I've got my pen. You're going to want that. So grab it really quick because our guest today has a story and has so much wisdom that is going to amaze you. You can see him sitting right here with me. I would like you to welcome to the broadcast today, Sam Humphrey.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm so honored and privileged to be here on your show, Pamela.
It's amazing to have you here, and still so grateful to Stefan Leary for connecting us. Thank you, Stefan. We so
Absolutely.
appreciate
Thanks, Stefan.
So you are just an amazing person, and some people may be recognizing you already, but you're going to tell us a little more about you in a moment. But I just want to give a plug and say, you know what? Sam's the real deal. He's been through some stuff in life, and you're going to hear all about it, but he is the real deal. And what do I mean by that? He is who he says he is. His heart is all about helping others, sharing his story, and making the world better. The positivity and the gratitude that comes from this man is amazing. So it is such an honor, Sam, to have you with us today. So would you do us a favor? Tell us, who is Sam Humphrey?
Thank you. Well, for those of you that don't know me yet, I am an actor. And as Pamela mentioned before, some of you probably do recognize me. I am from The Greatest Showman. Well, that's not necessarily what I want to talk about today. But I'm sure there will be some questions that I'll answer about The Greatest Showman. But I'm also an upcoming producer and a huge advocate for disability rights, human rights, and I like to advocate and support a lot of nonprofit organizations and many more things, which I'm sure we will talk about and discuss today.
Absolutely. And you're coming to us from sunny California, right?
I am absolutely. Sunny California, where we are currently experiencing a little bit of a heat wave.
Hot Southern California. Well, I have a question for you, Sam, just kind of a fun one. If you had a billboard, and it could be anywhere in the world on an interstate, what message would you put on it? What would yours say?
I think if I could have a billboard anywhere in the world and I could have it say anything I wanted, one, I would put on it, don't give up, and also no regrets, because those are two of the biggest philosophies that I live by, is to not give up. And at the end of the day, when it is my time to leave this amazing place, I want to have absolutely no regrets for myself and the people that I hopefully impacted around me.
Definitely. I love that, no regrets. I love all of it, but no regrets is my husband's and our motto together in our marriage and in our life together. So we just don't want to have any regrets between us, but no regrets. Like let's live life, right? So I absolutely love that. And you know what? I can tell that is your motto in life because you don't have regrets. The Sam that I have come to know and appreciate, he lives life to the fullest, and we're so excited to hear all about that today. All right, so tell us your story. We want to hear all about it.
Absolutely. So I am 27 this year, and like Pamela said, I have gone through a lot of challenges and struggles, but that hasn't stopped me since I want to live my life with, no regrets, and I don't want to give up on anything. So I'll start at the beginning. I was born with a very rare condition called acrodysplasia, which is very complicated to say as much as it sounds. So when I was born, at first, the doctor said that I had to be delivered early because there were complications with my birth. And so my parents hearing this at the time, they were, 100% Christian. And they decided that they did not want to deliver me early and that they were going to wait until my due date. So my due date came and I was delivered. Unfortunately, that was where kind of all of my challenges and struggles kind of began. I was placed into an incubator for about 6 weeks, basically because without that, they were scared that I wouldn't make it. And the doctors had also told my mom that with the complications and everything that I possibly wouldn't make it. And to my mom, that was very scary because she thought that that meant I was going to die at any moment. And that was very possibly true. Um, Going forward, growing up as a small child, I was very very different to a lot of my friends and my family as well. But my family were absolutely amazing. They did everything they could to try and give me, I guess, a normal life in the sense that I was different. I'm using quotation marks because we're all different. We're all unique. And so I didn't have too many challenges as a child. I was very shy though. But a lot of my challenges kind of started happening when I got into my teen years. Because leading up to my teen years, I'd always been very sick, and I was very shy, and I never really wanted to leave my mom's side. So she was my safe net. But as I grew up, I started wanting to, hang out with friends, and I started meeting people. And I mean, what you see today is a complete 360 from what I was like when I was a kid. I mean, I was probably one of the most shyest kids that you could ever meet. Like, I would not speak to you, I would not look at you, I wouldn't want to go and play. But my mom made sure that, when I went to kindergarten and school and things like that, that they treated me as normally as they could. Um, Now that's very difficult because obviously I have very unique accommodations that need to be made for me. For example, when I was at school, like in kindergarten and preschool and primary school, I had to have special adjustments. For example, I had a special chair that could be adjusted via the legs, and I had a foot platform. Um, for example, I couldn't quite reach the door handles all the time, so they always had to have step stools nearby for me to grab whenever I needed them. So, I mean, these challenges don't sound, that bad, and nowadays I'm very grateful because, I mean, I have it a lot better off than a lot of other people do. Like, I'm very grateful for, the way I am and how God made me. That's definitely not how I felt growing up, though, unfortunately. Now, I'm Christian and I grew up in the church for most of my life. And I was very heavily involved in the church. I was, a service leader, I was a youth leader, etc., etc. And, they taught me to accept myself and things like that. But when I was younger, I found it hard to accept myself. Like, I was taught that, God loves everyone and he doesn't make mistakes and everything. But I found that concept very difficult because looking at myself, I couldn't accept myself and I didn't love me. I didn't love my body. I didn't love the way I looked or the way I sounded. My voice was very, very high. So I basically sound like a chipmunk. So yeah, consider me the new Alvin. Or used to be the new Alvin, not anymore. Um, but so my voice was very high, and I was very insecure, about all of that. And so as I went to school, and I made friends and everything, I was very popular, but I was also very insecure. And a lot of that, my family and my friends and the people around me didn't know that. And unfortunately, at the time I was in high school, that was where a lot of the challenges came for me. High school was a very mentally and physically challenging time for me. Um, I always wore a very good disguise, and I guess that's why, a lot of people say that I'm a natural actor because for me, I consider myself have been an actor since, my entire life. Like from the day I was able to walk and talk, I loved being in spotlight. And then moving into high school, when everyone's, dealing with their own struggles and things, I just put on a happy face. I didn't want to let, my friends and my family see that I really was struggling. Now they knew I had, challenges and they knew I was struggling. But unfortunately, I got very, very depressed during my high school years, and that led me to unfortunately attempt suicide several times. So one of my last attempts was I did try to unfortunately drown myself in the bathtub. Thank God that I did not go through with it. I couldn't go through with it at the last moment because I did do it. Like I went under the water and submerged myself, and I was holding my breath because no one really truly wants to die, and we know that no one really wants to die. I think it's just the situations and the challenges that you're going through, and if you feel like you have no one to talk to, then it feels like an escape and your way out. So I did it. But at the very last moment, I kind of, before I let the breath out of my, lungs, I kind of started thinking about my family and, my friends and how terrible that would be, for them to have to experience that and the sort of torment that I would put on them. Especially them not knowing, that I was really at that kind of place in my life. And so for anyone that is, dealing with suicide, there are a lot of amazing organizations out there that you can talk to. And I'm actually a ambassador for an organization in Australia called Gotcha for Life. And if you ever do want to talk or you want advice, you can hit me up on my social media. The Sam Humphrey, that is my Instagram. You can message me, day or night, because I take, suicide awareness, and I take suicide very, very seriously because that's very, very close to my heart, and I went through it. And the reason I share my story and my journey is because ultimately I don't want anyone else to ever go through anything that I went through, because I know how sad and lonely it can be when you feel like no one truly understands you. So yeah, um, if you have any questions or anything, Pamela, I can answer any of those.
For you. So, how many times did you say you attempted to take your life?
Mm. Yeah, so unfortunately, I attempted to take my life about 4 or 5 times. So yeah, I mean, it was a very challenging time. Like in high school, I saw all of especially my male friends, obviously because I'm a male, and so that was, more relatable to me. With all my friends around me, physically developing, it was hard for me to see them go through that change and not, experience those changes myself. Um, and that's what kind of made me depressed. And like, to me, I felt like an alien. I felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't have a place where I belonged. And I think also because of like I was also very sick as a child growing up as well. I dealt with a lot of hospital visits. I was in and out of hospital many times, and that really affected my education. And so that's also unfortunately another thing that kind of led to that. I was very insecure about I guess my IQ and my own experiences with what I had to share with the world. At that time, I didn't think I had anything to offer the world. I felt like who would want to listen to me, or who would and this is this goes very deep, actually. Because the doctors had told me and my parents that I quite possibly wouldn't make it past my 18th birthday. Praise God, and I'm very, very grateful that, this year I'm 27 years old, so I'm way past where the
Yeah.
doctors said that, I might not live. Um, they also mentioned that if I made it past my 18th birthday, and even before that, they weren't sure of the quality of life that I would have. They weren't sure, whether or not I would just be in and out of hospital for the rest of my life, or whether or not I might even eventually end up just living out the rest of my life in hospital. Um, so I was a very rare case. Like, they just didn't understand me, and that made it harder too. And I think that's why I'm very, it's very, very close to my heart that I want to advocate for a lot of these nonprofits and, disability advocacy. Although I don't like to use the word disability because I think it's, unfortunately, in today's society, it's become a stereotype where when people hear that word, they think negatively on it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And so for me, I like to use the word rareability because we're all rare. And
Yeah.
people with, quote unquote, disabilities, they're, they're not disabled. They have just a different way of, experiencing life and a different perception. And they definitely have a lot to offer, the world in terms of, what they're going through, how they see the world. And that's kind of how I felt growing up. I just wanted to be able to give my perspective on the world. And so I'm very humbled to have the platform that I have today because I take the responsibility of what I share and what I talk about on my platform very, very seriously.
Yeah, I know that you do. And so 4 to 5 times you tried to end your life.
Mm.
Thank goodness that it didn't work. Uh,
Nope.
how did your family handle that? That must have did they were they aware of that, or were they aware of how deeply you were how deeply depressed you were?
Mm.
And if they weren't aware of it and they found out later, how did they handle that with
Mm.
you?
Yeah, so my family knew, I think, mainly my mom more than anyone else because, she was the one who had to take me to, the doctors and all the specialists and things like that. Um, and I think just the fact that I had to go to so many different doctors really took the toll, that even they didn't know what was going on with me or, why I was such a unique case. But she definitely knew the most. She didn't know that, how deeply I was struggling with it. They saw some of the tears and they saw, they definitely heard the tears. For example, one time I came back from one of my specialists, and I can't quite remember what exactly he said necessarily. Um, but he said something about like my bone development and even, my physical development in terms of whether or not I would fully develop and whether or not I would, be having these changes that, every other guy in the world has had. Um, so I came back from that appointment and I just ran straight to the bathroom and I locked it because at the time, that was the only place in the house that had a workable lock. And I locked myself in there for probably an hour and I just broke down crying because, to be told that you're different and that it's still even hard to kind of talk about, now, like just to be told that you're different. I
Right.
mean, especially at that age, when you're a teenager, you want to fit in. You so badly want to be like all of your peers. And so that's hard. I mean, nowadays, everyone wants to stand out. But going back to your question, so my mom definitely knew the most. Um, my dad had heard me crying, and he tried to interject and tried to, help me and everything, but he was, the breadwinner at the time, so he was always working, and so I guess he didn't really have the time to try and, help me out or try and get to know what I was going through. And then obviously my siblings, they were also very focused on their studies, they're very academic, my siblings. And that also what led me to feeling, different as well. I felt like the odd duck in my family because I'm not, to be completely honest, I'm not, an academic. So I didn't excel in, my education. So that, it also affected, how I saw myself and everything. But so they didn't know that I was, they knew that I was somewhat depressed and they knew, some of the things I was going through, but they never knew that I was at the point where I wanted to end it. I was, and that's where, my disguise came in. I always, put on a brave face and a happy face for everyone around me because I think two parts to that. One, I didn't want to burden them because I felt like this is something that I, want to deal with on my own. And part two is that I wanted them to, keep knowing the person that I was. I didn't want to open them up to my vulnerability. I wanted them to keep on seeing me as the amazing, strong person that I was. And obviously no blame on anyone else, but like, when you're going through struggles and challenges and things like that, and everyone sees you, dealing with that and still, pushing forward. A lot of people say, "Wow, congratulations! You're amazing. You're really strong, like for dealing with this, and being able to just keep on, pushing through." And I think a lot of the times, and especially as an actor, you don't wanna ruin that perception. How people see you. And I think that goes for everyone. Like, you don't want to seem vulnerable because society has definitely made it out to be a bad thing. If you show your vulnerability or you show that you're struggling, then kind of people they distance themselves from you just because they don't want to deal with that. Everyone's so focused on living their own lives. And we're, dealing with so much of our own issues that we find it hard to, want to either let people in or unload stuff onto other people or give up the time to try and help someone. But, we really, really have to. I think that's how we get ahead in terms of mental health, is looking out for our fellow man, which is, why I built this.
Oh, yes. Why don't you tell us about that? I have some other questions, but since you have highlighted that, tell us about what that is on your shirt. What does it say? What does it mean?
Absolutely. So this is the little guy, and I don't know how clearly you guys can see it, but it says the little guy standing up for the little guys. And so basically, the reason I created this is because no matter who you are in, the world or today's society, there's so many labels and, whether or not you're dealing with gender equality or whether or not you're dealing with the, being LGBTQ or, politics, religion, all of that stuff. One of my philosophies is that at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And I created this because I want to unite, I want to unite us all because everyone's getting so caught up in whether or not they're, Republican, liberal, whether they're, this religion, that religion, whether they're, transgender, gay, straight, all that kind of stuff. And I think that has really taken us off track to focusing on the important part, is that even though we may be unique and individual and different, at the end of the day, we are ultimately all the same. I bleed red, you bleed red. We all, we're all vulnerable. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be loved. And that's what a lot of these, I think, a lot of these arguments and a lot of these different protests and things that spark up are about. It's just about being accepted and being loved. And the reason I did this is because I went through all that myself. And as I always say, whether or not I help a million people or whether or not I help just one person, it's all completely worth it to me because, you know, every human life is precious. And I'm a huge advocate for, you know, for spreading that message, love, you know, positivity and kindness. You know, just be a good human being at the end of the day, whether or not, you know, you're Christian or not.
Yes, I love that. Just being a good person, just
Mm,
being a quality person and loving people. Oh,
mm,
and in our world today, oh, Sam, that is so needed
mm,
because there's so much to bicker about. There's so many people bickering. And while we're doing that, there's so many people that are isolated and
mm,
alone, struggling, hurting, and
mm.
their voices aren't being heard above all the noise of their ring. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Whereas
Yeah.
somebody like you is creating this, I'm just going to call it, looking out for the little guy movement of
Mm,
bringing our awareness back that we're all part of the human race. Hello, right? And we
exactly.
we should respect that and appreciate it. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree, but
Exactly.
that doesn't mean we can't love, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what being human means that we're definitely going to disagree on a lot of stuff. And I mean, I wouldn't want to necessarily live in a world where we all agreed on everything because that would just, it would be a strange place to live in if, you know, everyone agreed on everything. You know, there would be no democracy, there would be, you know, no different inventions because the way I see the world and the way other people see the world, you know, that's how we get, you know, all these different theories, and that's how we, you know, progress forward. Is by being able to have, you know, calm, you know, disagreements about things, but still agree that we can love each other even if we disagree about, you know, certain philosophies or theories, things like that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So where do people, or when can people, how do they get more information about the little
Mm.
guy?
Yeah. So at the moment, it's more at the moment it's a little bit of a concept phase. So we're kind of it's on the ground floor and we're getting things started. So in August we will be doing a soft launch where I will be launching the Little Guy website, and you will be able to purchase this T-shirt specifically. And at the moment we will be just starting with T-shirts to you know, as a soft launch, but we will be adding different products as we progress. And then we will be, you know, creating different social media pages that you can follow. For example, we have at the moment the littleguy.shop is the social media on Instagram. There's no real content on it at the moment because we're, like I said, it's on the ground floor and we're kind of just getting it started. Um, but yeah, absolutely. You can follow those pages. You can also follow my personal Instagram, or my social media. Um, I between the little guy's Instagram and my personal Instagram, I basically share kind of the same stuff because the little guy philosophy is who I am. So you know, a lot of the content is going to be fairly similar on both platforms. But you know, whether or not you want to follow either is completely up to you.
Okay, so they can follow you on social media and you'll be
Hmm.
rolling out things coming to August, but they could also find, did you say little guy dot shop? Is that what
Yep,
you said? Okay.
the little guy dot shop.
And that's on Instagram, is that what you said?
That's on Instagram. Yep.
Okay. All right. So you guys got that information now. Question for you. You
Hmm.
said, yeah, for you, I've got one for you. You said that there was a time when you felt like an alien in the
Mm,
world. I can
mm,
identify with that because I remember a time growing up where I felt like that. My situation is not what we're talking about today, it's yours, but I can remember being different. And
mm,
because of that, feeling like that, there were some reasons why I couldn't be in a regular gym class. And so I was not allowed to be in that gym class. And I remember just despising that. And then, of course, there were kids that weren't too nice to me that would tease me because of that kind of thing, right?
Wow.
And I can so relate to what you're saying. When did the light come on? When did it change? Was there a epiphany moment for you? What happened when you realized that, as you put it, I wrote down that you were not an alien, you were a rare ability, as we all are. Do you remember a time, or did that just kind of just slowly evolve? Kind of unpack that for us a little bit, because that's an interesting concept. You've gone from alien to rare ability within yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I would say probably around about 2015, I went through, I had a kind of, I guess, come to Jesus moment, or in a book that I just co-wrote with a bunch of other authors called Ignite Possibilities. As we call it in that book, the Ignite moment. So I had my Ignite moment, or come to Jesus moment, in about 2015. So I was having a discussion with my brother in my dad's car outside of his office in Australia, in Melbourne. And my brother, he's always kind of set the standard for, what we achieve in our family. So I've kind of, as a slight, brotherly rivalry, I've kind of wanted to match his achievements. And so we were having this discussion one day. And I had been pursuing acting for quite a while at that point. But unfortunately, I had been pursuing it more as a hobby. And in the middle of the discussion, my brother, he asked us one question. He said, if you had all the money in the world and you could do anything you want, what would you do? And he kind of already knew the answer, because everyone knew that I wanted to be an actor. So I just said, of course, I want to be an actor. And then we kind of talked about that. And he's not one for sugarcoating. At least, he's definitely didn't used to be. And so he kind of told me, he basically said, well, like, what are you doing about it? And I kind of started to realize that I wasn't really trying that hard. If I wanted to be an actor, there was definitely a lot more that I could be doing. And I think that's when I realized I wasn't putting in the effort that I could be, and I wasn't trying as hard as I could be, mainly because I was very, very scared of failing. If I failed, that was it. I would feel like, that was my dream. And for me, if I didn't try that hard, or if I didn't put in necessarily the effort, I wouldn't fail. And so, for me, that felt great. I was like, cool, I can't fail. And, I'm still technically trying to be an actor.
Right.
But that was bad, because I wasn't going to fail, but I wasn't going to succeed. So, and that was when I kind of realized that I needed to change, my mindset, and change how I looked at myself, and all of those kind of things. And definitely, I think my faith definitely helped me as well. Learning to accept the way I looked, and learning that it didn't matter if anyone else accepted me, or if anyone else loved me. As long as I loved myself, and as long as God loved me, and as long as I had my family. And yeah, so that was kind of the biggest thing, was definitely a change in mindset when I realized, from my brother, that I wasn't putting in the work that I should be to be the person that I felt like I should be. And so, yeah, that's kind of, it just all changed. And I think that was definitely a God thing as well. Because I definitely didn't do it on my own, because as I always say, we're only human.
Yeah, right, right. Well, you had what I call an aha experience, right? And I like what you called it. You had an ignite moment. That is a powerful term, an ignite moment, where you realized that you have greatness in you. And I wrote down the word celebrate. If there is a word that I would use to explain how I see you, Sam,
Mm.
to somebody. And so to all of you that are listening or watching today, I would use the word celebrate, that Sam celebrates who he is. He celebrates his rare ability. He celebrates his life. He celebrates his gifts. He celebrates every day. And you've learned to live and be and go where you're celebrated, not tolerated, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I so see that in you. So I can really appreciate that. And I love that ignite possibilities. That
Mm.
is beautiful. You also said that you were a youth leader. And
Mm.
so you grew up, it sounds like, in a church environment, in a positive church environment.
Mm.
So I'm picturing you as a youth leader, and I'm picturing you as, an actor, and, remember and seeing you on the big screen, and I'm like, how did that all transfer? Like, we know
Mm.
that you had your aha moment, but how did you go from this desire to actually all of a sudden hitting the big screen?
Mm.
Tell us a little bit about that. That's another thing for you to unpack, because
Yeah.
everybody wants to know, how did you get there to be the celebrity status that you are? Because now you're using that celebrity status for heaven's goodness in the earth.
Mm.
But tell us how that evolved.
Sure. So I guess it kind of started in 2016, I suppose. I guess that's where it really took off. Um, but if we go back a little bit, I've always been into acting. I've always wanted to be in the center of, attention and in the spotlight. That's just my personality, I guess. Well, it never used to be, but, as I discovered myself and came to know my own truth, that's who I realized that I am. So when I was, about 5 years old, me and my siblings and some family friends, kids, we used to put on these little skits and plays for our parents. I don't know how good we were at that age, but we made them sit down and watch them, and they were, you know, for being 5 years old, they were always very cute. And I think that was what kind of first got me into acting. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed performing. Um, and also, it was definitely a therapeutic experience for me, with especially growing up, with all those challenges. I was able to kind of jump out of being Sam Humphrey for a moment and being, someone else who wasn't dealing with, depression or dealing with suicide or dealing with the challenges or struggles that I was. It was completely not me. And that's, how you have to be with acting. But when I got to 8 years old, I saw Hugh Jackman on the big screen and on my TV at home for the first time as Wolverine. And something in me, like, I've always loved action and I've always loved, fantasy and all those kind of things. And something about his performance and just his character really jumped out at me. And I said, yes, I want to be like him. At first, obviously, I wanted to be Wolverine. But I found out that was a fictional character. So then I realized I wanted to be Hugh Jackman. And I used to put fake claws on and run around and scream and all that kind of stuff. Um, and then growing up even further, as he was my role model and my inspiration for becoming an actor, um, I looked out my window probably in 2015, my bedroom window at the time, and something inside of me, I can't even explain it, to be honest. And that's why I kind of also think it was a God thing. I looked out my window and I just had this like epiphany where I said to myself, I'm going to walk the red carpet and work with Hugh Jackman one day. I have no idea how. I have no clue how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or how I'm going to get there. But I knew it was going to happen. I just felt it inside me. And 1 year later, end of 2000 and no, so 2016, I got cast in the role of Tom Thumb, aka Charles Stratton. And then at the end of 2017, I was on the red carpet and I was, taking photos and attending all these different various, Golden Globe parties and things like that. And my mind was just blown. I still can't even really, I can't even really experience it myself. It still blows my mind to this day.
That is amazing. So from this little boy admiring this actor to standing on the red carpet with him, that is amazing. And how did that affect your confidence and your thought of being a rare ability? How did that, yeah, like how did that affect you?
I think it definitely, definitely improved my confidence because when I saw that I was being accepted, by my peers and by the people around me and by the people that I worked so hard to, get next to be able to work with. And as everyone had, everyone always says acting industry is one of the hardest industries in the world to get into. Um, and then going back to the brotherly, rivalry that I have with my brother, for me, it was, getting to that, level and that, quote unquote status. It just made me feel accepted and made me feel like, okay, I do have a lot to offer to the world, and I do have a talent and I do have a skill that I can share and that, not everyone has. And to be completely honest, even I even realized in the last probably year or two that, my charismatic personality and being able to speak the way I do, on interviews and things like that, I realized that not everyone can do that. And I thought that, everyone is able to speak confidently and, you know, be charismatic and be open and, just, I guess, shine, and be himself. But that's something that I learned that not everyone can do, and that's a talent that I have. And so I'm grateful and honored to have that talent because I'm very blessed to have that talent.
Yes, you are. That is so cool. Your story is just amazing. And I have learned so much in this time that we've had together. But one more question for you. I want to make sure that you have had the opportunity to communicate everything that has been on your heart in this interview. And Sam's going to be on the Pamela show and also on Right Now. So you're going to get to hear different aspects of his story on the different platforms I have. So stay tuned. But is there anything else, Sam, that you feel like, yeah, I'd really like to share this before we close today?
Not so much, but I just want to say to anyone out there who is struggling or who is possibly thinking about giving up, don't. As I always say, it's always, darkest before the dawn. So you just got to keep on plugging away and keep on trying. Just because I've quote unquote made it, I still go through challenges and struggles and things like that. And, even after Greatest Showman, I definitely still experience struggles. So it's not, just because I quote unquote made it, doesn't mean that we don't, go through struggles. So just keep on plugging away. And like I said, you can reach out to me through my social media if you want advice or if you need any help or anything. And again, especially if you're dealing with, depression or suicide or any of those other, issues or challenges. There is always support out there that you can find. Just, go on Google and look up, different support systems. And I'm always there. So please do message me if all else fails. You can come and talk to me.
Absolutely. So now you all know why I said at the beginning that he's the real deal. Now you know why. You've seen it for yourself.
Thank you.
Sam, what does purpose by design mean to you?
So I would say purpose by design means that you can you can go through life, feeling empty, But if you truly believe in something and you truly have a passion for something, that you can design, you can design the purpose that that you're supposed to be doing, or what your purpose is here on earth. For example, I wasn't always sure, what my purpose was here on earth. But now I believe that my purpose here on earth is to create the little guy and create an environment where everyone can be unified and feel accepted and loved and, get the support that they truly need. So I am designing my own purpose. And that's what I think purpose by design means, that you can design and create your own reality by, doing what you're passionate about and getting help from people that believe in you and believe in your vision as well.
Wow, I love that. Design your reality. Woo! That's powerful. We got that. I felt that. Sam, you told us how to reach you on Instagram. Is there any other social medias or websites or anything you want to plug? We'll have everything in the description for everybody. But is there anything else you would like to offer up at this point?
So once again, the website for the little guy will be live in August. I will be, posting all about that on my social media and posting links and everything. So no worries if you can't find it or anything. You'll definitely be hearing a lot from me when that goes live. So yeah, just be sure to follow my social media. I'm also on Facebook, which is just simply Sam Humphrey. I'm also on Twitter. I don't really use it. I just mainly post from Instagram to Twitter. So yeah, mainly if you subscribe to my Instagram and turn on my push notifications and all of those things, you'll be able to get everything you need from me and hopefully more.
Hey, thank you, Sam. This has been so uplifting. And again, just like, you're amazing. You're the real deal. And your story is so powerful. Thank you for being here today. You're awesome.
Thank you for having me. It's been such an honor and a pleasure. And I'm always blown away by people who have me on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Whether you've been listening or you're viewing, I appreciate you. And you are here on purpose, with a purpose by design, not by default. Now go on out there and be the salt and the light everywhere you go. And do Sam and I a huge favor. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's get his message out to the whole world on purpose by design. Let's design a new reality. I love it.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Pamela Henkel is the founder of the Purpose Center. Pamela is a mindset mentor, author, speaker, minister, and transformation coach. Her weekly podcast, international radio show, and television show are a lifeline that changes lives and inspires people to discover their individual potential through realizing their purpose by design. Pamela is a natural motivator and has shown many how to find their niche and transform their lives. Although success is an uphill battle, Pamela gives the necessary strategies to flourish, cheering you on every step of the way. Pamela shares from her personal experiences, education, and life as a woman in leadership, utilizing decades of knowledge. Taking the approach of, let's have coffee and chat, she will awaken your dreams and purpose by design. Are you ready for Pamela to help guide you? Email us at purposewpamela.office@gmail.com or go to her website at purposewithpamela.com.